Um, how have food prices evolved, right? And what specific policies or economic conditions do you think have driven these changes over time in the past? Are there lessons that we can learn from how past administrations approached controlling food prices and how perhaps this administration is handling the whole food price situation?
Well, thank you, Joanna, and thank you everyone for having me. Good morning once again. It is true and unfortunate that the country is experiencing a high cost of food, but this is my opinion too, just like the immediate speaker mentioned. But I think this is a manifestation of what we've gone through from 2020 to 2023. I personally prefer to do a more detailed interrogation of situation instead of just talking about the peripherals. This is a country that is fed by the hard labor of its smallholder farmers. For the sake of those joining us now that are not conversant with the happenings around agriculture, not only in Nigeria, but in sub-Saharan Africa, over 80% of the food we eat comes from smallholder farmers that are so often neglected. And let us remember that Nigeria experienced significant disruptive situations, adding to the more fundamental points that usually smallholder farmers go through. Nigeria experienced a lot of disruptive situations between 2020 and 2023, and I would like to go a little bit into that, just to refresh in our memory. If we could remember, between March to August of 2020, the unfortunate lockdown occasioned by the COVID-19 pandemic. And from March to August, we were all locked down, affected food production. And like we all know, that's the beginning of supposedly the beginning of the rain-fed season to the harvest period. We also saw a higher level of increase in insecurity in 2021 and almost around all food producing states. That's in 2021. So COVID disrupted a lot of operations in 2020. Then 2021, there was a peak in the insecurity around most food producing states. Then in 2022, around February 2022, if you remember, that was the period when we had the beginning of the Russian-Ukraine crisis. A lot of people don't understand the connection between the Russian-Ukraine crisis and the food systems in most developing countries. Russia, Ukraine, that's where most of our fertilizer components are what we normally blend to have our fertilizers emanate from. So the global fertilizer supply chain got disrupted. And to make matters worse, in the same 2022, the massive flood between May and October of 2022, I think that's something that a lot of us do remember. Almost 8.4 million tons of 14 crop varieties output were lost. Over 860-something thousand hectares of farmlands and agricultural structures were affected. And this is not from me. It's according to the National Agricultural Extension and Research Liaison Service at Zaria. And then the other thing, towards the end of 2022, the currency redesign, and that now it's a distant memory. A lot of us went through pains when that government decided to all of a sudden to change the designs of the currency. It affected many farmers. It, in fact, bankrupted a lot of farmers, and it disorganized the preparations for the 2023 farming season. And then in 2023, of course, the election had its own share of disruptions. And then, of course, the announcement on the first day of the regime of removal of subsidy, and like the immediate speaker mentioned, the forex policies of this administration. So whether we like it or not, this country went through many disruptions, and that's what we're paying now. And it affected food production. It affected all the things that we know that are responsible for a perfect production season, to go to market strategy, everything. In fact, the UNFAO and the World Food Program predicted that as far back as October 2022, as was reported by the BBC, that Nigeria will face high catastrophic hunger if we're not covered. So these disruptions added to the existing fundamental reasons that I'm sure we're going to talk about. Not most of the experts are here. These disruptions added to the fundamental reasons for low productivity brought us to this current situation. unfortunately, this government is responsible for fixing. So this is where we are. And concerning the last part of your question, I think this government must increase the production of major crops like rice, maize, cassava, because these crops are central to the hunger issue. This is what most families rely on for their sustenance. Unfortunately, Nigeria has never been short of significant policies. I'm happy that we have the chairman of the Lagos chapter of the All Farmers Association and the past commissioner of Agri is also here. And there are big government people where my brother Bode was in government, and the powerful woman of soil, the soil scientist, she's also here. So we've never been short of great ideas, but the problem with us, unfortunately, is the Nigerianization, what I call the Nigerianization of those policies. That has always been our problem, and I hope and I pray that some of my colleagues on the panel will shed more light on the issue. Thank you very much.